because that was the first time that I would take entering a relationship that seriously. I thought that it was enough, but it wasn't. So a few months ago, one of my friends and I were chatting, and she told me to do this video where I share a few things for anybody who is currently navigating the loss of a relationship that they genuinely believed was God's will, and that God gave them the go ahead. She told me to do that because she knew I had been in that situation and had a few things to say. But this was like almost a year ago, actually, it was earlier last year. I didn't think anything of it. I had zilch desire to do such a video, right? Until 2 weeks ago, when I started having the increased nudge to come on here and talk to you guys about it. So here I am in obedience. And I know that when I have such nudges, it's usually because somebody or some people need what I have to say in that particular situation, in that particular instant. And I really pray that God uses the words that come out of my lips to help you on your own journey, to bring you comfort and healing, and to shed light on your path. That is my sincerest desire. So yeah, let's just go right into it because I don't want the video to be too long for you. So yeah. So first off, I want to say that I'm sincerely sorry for how you're feeling. I'm sorry for what you're going through. I have a pretty decent idea how painful this kind of a thing is. So I know how annoying it is and how confusing. Even it's probably even more confusing, like I said, because you probably spent time praying or went ahead with this relationship because you were so sure it was going to end in marriage and babies and whatever and a wonderful life and all those things, and here you are, heartbroken and separated from this person and all that. So I'm very sorry that you're feeling this way. I'm sincerely sorry. The first thing I want you to know is that, like with every breakup, whether whether you believe it was God's will or not, you are allowed to grieve. You are supposed to grieve, not just allowed to grieve. You are supposed to grieve. So please take all the time you need, all the time that you believe is necessary for you to heal from this pain, from this. Because, like I said, you probably have a lot of questions, probably have a lot of tears to let out and all that. So please take all the time you need to grieve. Second thing I want to say is that it's very, very possible that you actually heard God correctly and the relationship still ended. It is very, very possible. For many reasons, to be honest, some of which you might never have the answers to, but it is very, very possible. So one of the things I would say can contribute to such a factor is timing. So if I am of the personal opinion that if two very fantastic people, two great people, get together prematurely, they can ruin a pretty or potentially great relationship. That's what I believe. That is what I sincerely believe. So even if it was God breathed, God's idea, God's will for you and this person to be together, if it was premature, and premature in the sense that, say for example, one person is not spiritually mature enough, so they are not able to submit themselves enough to the leading of the Spirit for the relationship to excel, right? Or both parties are not mature enough spiritually, emotionally, sometimes even financially, to be honest. Like, we need to be very honest. Like, sometimes relationships don't work out because of the finances involved. Sometimes. So sometimes God says this person is supposed to be your husband or your wife, or people are supposed to do all these amazing things and you're supposed to be together and all these things, but you get together maybe months, sometimes even years before you're supposed to. It's one thing to hear God that this is your partner, it's another thing to hear God that you're supposed to be with them right now. Do you get? Because like I said, two pretty great people can ruin a potentially great relationship if they come together prematurely. So that's one of the factors I believe can actually cause a relationship that was God's will to end, right? And I actually believe that a lot of people, depending on who broke up and who proposed or whatever, I actually believe that a lot of people sometimes get into relationships out of intimidation. intimidation in the sense that, like, say if one person they believe is very spiritual, or they believe the person, they respect the person, or they really like the person. If that person that the other person really likes or respects or whatever comes to meet the person, sometimes people say yes, not because they have any conviction, but because they're intimidated and they believe you can't be wrong, or maybe I've been waiting for too long, might as well snag this person, or I don't believe that anybody should get into a relationship if they are not fully persuaded and fully convicted on their own, regardless of what the other person says, regardless of what anybody, mentor, parents, siblings, friends, anybody says. If you are not 100% convicted that this is your person, please don't enter the relationship. But that's for people, that's moving forward. But right now, I believe that sometimes that is what actually happens. So if a person didn't start off a relationship feeling fully convicted, it's very possible that in the relationship they are not bringing their best, or they are not maybe they are not wise enough, or they are not ready. It's possible to want something you're not ready for. It's possible to want, and I was in that position years ago. It's possible to desire a relationship, to desire marriage when you're not ready for it, when you don't have the knowledge yet, when you don't have the wisdom yet, when you don't have the fruits of the spirit required. Because trust me, you need a lot of fruits of the spirit. You need to be growing fruits regularly. The Holy Spirit working in you, obviously, because you can't do any of these things on your own. It's not even possible. But anyways, so I believe that those are some of the things that I feel like contribute to God-willed relationships ending. The timing, if one person just said yes because they respect the other person and they were intimidated and they just said yes, and because, like I said, their conviction is not theirs, they would not show up the way they would have. But I feel like a major thing is timing. That's one thing I actually believe. That is in the case that you actually heard God correctly. Now, there's also the possibility that you didn't hear God correctly, and that was my position years ago. And I only found that out through honest spiritual introspection, because I really wanted the person, my relationship with God had started to develop significantly, and I really wanted the person to be God's will for me. I really, really wanted the person to be God's will. It made sense, I think it made sense. Now, not really, but then I thought it made sense. And I really wanted, like I said, I wanted them to be God's will. So before I went to God in prayer, I was already very biased. And one thing my mom used to say growing up is that don't pray from a place of bias. Go to God clean. Like with no, like, God, this is what, because if you go with a bias, you're a human being and you're an intelligent person, you can convince yourself that something is God's will even if it isn't. And I didn't know this. I didn't know that that's what I did until I spent time asking God to, and it was because of the confusion and the pain, because not only did the relationship end, that question, not only did the relationship end, it ended very, very toxically, very badly. And I was like, my God, like, what is going on? So it was in a place of asking God, like, God, search my heart. All those very honest Davidic prayers. Like, God, search my heart. Like, did I do something wrong? Like, okay, so of course there are things I did wrong, but those were not the reasons why the relationship even ended. It was not because of even the things the other person did wrong, to be honest. The relationship was foundationally wrong for many things. And in hindsight, I keep wondering how I was able to convince myself that certain things were the will of God, because there were things that were obviously staring me in the face that were nowhere near biblical. There's a difference between a person having a character problem. There's a difference between a person having a weakness, which all of us have. There's a difference between that, and there's a difference between that and something that is outrightly against the will of God and is a lifestyle. There's a difference between a weakness and something like a weakness someone is trying to work on, and something that somebody owns as a lifestyle, and somebody professes and somebody carries out, that is outrightly against the will of God. Except we are lying to ourselves, there's a significant difference, and we can tell. Even if you're not if your discernment is not very high, we can usually tell very clearly. So that was something that I ignored a lot of. Something that because I just was like, no, I prayed. Because that was the first time that I would take entering a relationship that seriously. I thought that it was enough, but it wasn't. And when I was eventually going to meet and date and then eventually marry my husband, I did so many, in fact, it was like a 360 degree. I did so many things differently, because by that time I now had more knowledge. I'd grown more spiritually. Even finding out of my husband, I'll do a different video. Like everything was 100% different because I was armed with wisdom and knowledge, and God was helping me. Do you understand? So I feel like sometimes the relationship from the beginning was not God's will. Either we convinced ourselves that it was God's will, or we really wanted it to be God's will, that we did not see or hear what any other person is saying or what the person was revealing to us. And this is why it's also important to also, like, which I also learned eventually, also let people that are godly and you trust to also know about the relationship. People that, you know, are a form of covering. Could be your parents, it could be, you know, spiritually sensitive friends, it could be mentors, whatever, like people that you know can cover you in prayers and hear God unbiased. They are not just happy for you to be in a relationship, they want you to be in God's will. It's very important, so that even if you are biased, they are not in love with the person, or in like, or in infatuation, depending on what the situation is, or in lust, depending on what the situation is. So that's something that I also feel like I wanted to put out there. So it's possible that it was God's will, right? But it's also possible it wasn't to begin with. So anyways, regardless of those two situations, regardless of whatever the case was for you, whether it was God's will or not, please take out time to grieve. You are entitled. It is your sole right. It is your responsibility to take out time. You are required, in fact, to take out time to grieve the end of the relationship, whether it was God's will or not. Take out time to feel what you feel. Surround yourself with loved ones. Do all that is good and godly to get better. I say good and godly because I don't mean like drinking yourself to stupor or getting under someone else or on top, depending. Do you understand? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like doing healthy things, practicing healthy coping mechanisms to actually get better. Journal. I believe journal is one of the greatest inventions of all time. I've said it before. So journal. Surround yourself with supportive people, supportive friends, supportive family, supportive content that will actually edify you in this area. And also, if you need to see a therapist or a counselor, please do so. Next is I would actually suggest you spending time in prayer. Spend time talking to God about what is going on. So especially if you genuinely believe it was God's will. Like, God, so I don't understand what happened. I thought you'd be surprised what God will tell you if you're honest and if you are yielded or submitted or open enough to hear what He has to say. You'll be surprised. It can even let you know that, oh, it was God's will, it was my will. God knows it was God's will. It was my will, but this. Maybe the timing was off. Maybe this. You know that a lot of times people actually still come back together. So if it is God's will, for you to come back together, that can also happen. So just take time to spend time with God, hear what He has to say. Like in my case, God revealed in the area I deceived myself. For you, it may be that. For you, it may be something else. For you, maybe that it was His will, but like I said, maybe there was something, or maybe the other person wasn't there. I don't know. It can be a bunch of things. Do you understand? So just take time to talk to God and to listen to what He has to say. And in line with this, also receive and bask in His Spirit. See, there's no comfort as impactful, as life-changing as the comfort that comes from spending time with the Holy Spirit. Is the spirit of comfort. Take advantage of the fact that you have access to Him, and if you're a believer. If you're not, you can give your life to Christ today. So, yeah, and I actually mean that. So take advantage of the comfort that He gives. Bask in it. There's no comfort as deep, regardless of the profession, regardless of the years of qualification. Nobody can give you comfort like the Holy Spirit. So bask in the comfort that He gives, right? And if He tells you to talk to somebody, if He leads you in a direction, obey it. You'll be surprised how, for me, in that season, it was a particular story I stumbled on. It was Sarah Jakes Roberts. That was when I found Sarah Jakes Roberts, and her story really changed my life. But maybe I'll do a separate video on how much God has used that to impact me significantly. So, because at that point, I never knew it was possible for somebody to go through so much pain publicly. You know, you can go through pain, but so much, and still, man. Anyways, so so just spend time with God, bask in His Spirit, bask in all that he has to offer you. The next thing I have to say to you would be to learn from the experience. And I don't just mean like passive learning. I actually mean active learning, because you're going to need it moving forward. You don't know how soon or how, you don't know the timing of like when your actual God ordained partner is coming, or you don't know how many lessons from the end of that relationship that you would implement that would actually change your life. Do you understand? Not just in terms of your relationships, but even the way you think, the way you do life, the way you show up, the way you choose even friends. Do you understand? The way you pour out or not pour out yourself. Do you understand? So like learn from the experience actively, not passively, not like, oh, you've learned it, but like if it's possible. Something I did was I used to journal. I had this very small, before I started making Hurry products, I had this very small journal. I used to write emotional stuff in, right? And it was just things that came out of me while praying. Like I would just, things that I knew, oh, I don't want to do this again, I'm going to do it. And by the mercy of God, God helped me to do quite a significant amount of them when it was, as I move forward in life. So those are like, learn from the experience. You actually, there might actually be a point in time where you'll be thankful for those experiences. I know it sounds very overly optimistic, but it's actually a huge possibility, because there are some experiences that I used to feel like were completely unnecessary, but God has used it to really, really help me, help the way I show up in the world, help the way I interact with people, help the way I think, honestly, help the way I see life. So it is very possible that in a few years time you may be thankful for some parts of your story, maybe not all, but some parts of it. So learn from the experience actively, right? Then I'm going to say prioritize your personal development and your growth. Whatever area of your life is important to you in this season, prioritize it. Your spiritual growth, depending on what is, your spiritual should be a priority in every season, but you get my point. Like prioritize developing in the areas that matter to you right now. Is it your spiritual growth, your career, your finances, your emotional intelligence? Do you understand? Like prioritize growing in those areas. It may take a while for some of those, for you, the priority you place on those things to actually show or to bear so much fruit, but it will show eventually, right? Because I know that when I started prioritizing the areas I wanted to grow in that, it wasn't so many. I think it was just 2 specific areas, right, or 3. The area, it took a while. Some of it didn't even start showing so much until maybe after I'd even gotten married. Do you understand? Like the work that I had started putting in, or the priority I had placed on certain things, didn't really show in some ways until after I gotten married. So I'm just saying, just prioritize, plant as many seeds of growth and development and water it as much as you can in this season. And practice forgiveness. I personally don't believe it is possible to love the way God intends for us to love without the help of the Holy Spirit. I don't believe it is possible for us to forgive people the way God wants us to forgive without His help. I don't believe it. And I believe that will come when you spend time with God, when you ask Him to help you. There are many times where I genuinely want to hold a grudge, but I know that I shouldn't. I know it will hinder my own relationship with God. I know it will hinder me anything. So I ask God that, okay, God, please help me to forgive this person. Help me to let this thing go. Because I don't think it is, see, I believe that everything God requires of us, we cannot do it in our strength. So it will be folly to even try. Do you understand? So take advantage of the Holy Spirit. Ask Him to help you to forgive yourself for the mistakes you might have made in choosing or not choosing, in the way you were in the relationship with the person. You know, ask God to help you to forgive yourself. Studying, there's a lot of good, solid work out there on books, podcasts, so many things on self-forgiveness. Practice as much of it as you can. Then in forgiving the person as well, ask God to help you as well. You know, there would, like it happened with me in so many situations. You may even start developing empathy for the people you thought you were supposed to hate, honestly. So yeah, ask God to help you and consume as much good content, books, podcasts, many articles, sometimes content on social media in some cases even. that can help you in this area. And lastly, before I bounce out of here, the last thing I would say is that realize that you may never have all the answers that you desire to have in terms of why a relationship, because sometimes a relationship might have even not been so bad or not so toxic, but it still ended, right? And you genuinely believed it was God's will from the beginning. So I just want to tell you in advance that it is possible you may never have all the answers about why it ended. So please come to a place where you are okay with not knowing why everything did not work out the way you thought it should. I just wanted to let you know that. So thank you for watching the video to this point. If it has helped you in any way, please give it a thumbs up. Please share with anybody that you believe needs this right now. If you foresee somebody, I don't know. I wonder if you foresee someone in that situation, because you know that sometimes you're like, this thing is, when a relationship is in the pre-breakup stage, yeah, just share with as many people as you believe needs this. Also, giving it a thumbs up helps more people that are dealing with it to see. So please give it a thumbs up. Please drop a comment. I'd love to read your comments, and please share. Like I said, share, subscribe. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video. Watch other videos if you haven't. Bye.